Power isn't always in the noise. Silent, you learn to listen. You hear what others miss. You see what others overlook. You understand what others rush past. And in that silence, you grow sharper, because the loudest one in the room is often the least in control, but the one who listens, the one who observes, the one who waits, that's the one with the real advantage. People will try to pull you into noise. They'll insult you to get a reaction. They'll provoke you to test your patience. They'll try to drag you into battles that don't even matter. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to give them the reaction they want, you take away their power. You show them they can't control you, they can't move you, they can't touch your peace. That silence becomes your shield, and it becomes your strength. Silence also protects your vision. Every time you speak, you give away energy. Every time you react, you give away focus. But when you stay silent, you conserve it. You keep your plans hidden. You protect your dreams from voices that don't understand them. You don't waste your time explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You let your results speak, because results are louder than words, and progress is louder than arguments. The truth is, silence intimidates people. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know your next move. They don't know if you're hurt, if you're angry, if you're planning. That mystery is power. And that power grows the more disciplined you become with your words and your emotions. The world teaches you to be loud, to prove yourself, to clap back, to defend every move. But wisdom teaches you to be still, to protect your energy, to guard your peace, to let silence work for you. Because the one who cannot be provoked, the one who doesn't waste words, the one who doesn't give away emotions, that person is untouchable. The more silent you become, the more powerful you get, because silence is not the absence of strength, it's the evidence of control. Silence is discipline, not weakness. Too many people confuse restraint with being powerless, but silence is one of the most difficult forms of strength to master. It takes no effort to shout when you're angry. It takes no effort to clap back when someone disrespects you. It takes no effort to let your emotions explode and prove a point in the heat of the moment. That's easy. But it takes real strength, real discipline, to hold yourself together when every part of you wants to react. That is not weakness, that is mastery over yourself. When you choose silence, you're not saying you have no words. You're not saying you lack confidence. You're not saying you're afraid. What you are saying is that you are in control of yourself. You are saying that your peace is too valuable to be thrown away on meaningless conflict. You are saying that your time and your energy are too important to waste on people who thrive on your reaction. Weakness is giving away control every time someone pushes you. Discipline is refusing to let others dictate how you feel or how you move. Look at the people who always need to make noise. The ones who can't walk away from an argument. The ones who think they win because they got the last word. They may look powerful in the moment, but in truth, they are being controlled by their emotions. They are slaves to the need for attention. They are ruled by their impulses. That is not strength. That is weakness disguised as pride. Real power is quiet. Real power doesn't need validation. Real power doesn't waste energy proving itself to people who don't matter. Silence is also discipline because it forces you to slow down. In silence, you give yourself space to think before you act. You create distance between emotion and decision. You allow wisdom to step in where impulse wants to take over. Anyone can explode in the heat of the moment, but discipline teaches you to pause, to breathe, to let the noise pass without pulling you into it. That pause, that stillness, can save you from mistakes that anger or pride would have created. It can save relationships, it can protect opportunities, and it can preserve your dignity. That's the kind of strength silence gives you. Being silent when provoked doesn't mean you didn't feel the insult. It doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It doesn't mean you're blind to what's happening around you. It means you value control more than reaction. It means you've trained yourself to understand that not every moment deserves your energy. The more you practice this, the stronger your discipline becomes. Silence becomes a shield, keeping you from wasting yourself on distractions. That shield is not built overnight, but through repeated choices to control yourself when others can't. Silence also reveals confidence. When you're secure in who you are, you don't feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to fight every rumor. You don't need to defend every decision. You don't need to argue with people who already made up their minds about you. In fact, the more confident you are, the less you talk, because you understand your worth is not tied to their approval. You know that your actions will speak louder than your words ever could. That confidence is discipline, and that discipline is far from weakness. Think about the strongest leaders, the most respected figures in history. They weren't respected because they were the loudest in the room. They weren't respected because they always reacted. They were respected because they carried themselves with restraint, because they had control over their words, because they knew when to speak and when to remain silent. Silence gave their words more weight because when they finally did speak, people listened. Discipline gave them authority, and silence was a tool they mastered. Even in personal life, silence is power. Arguments in families, friendships, and relationships often spiral out of control because both sides feel the need to talk over each other, to prove their point, to get the last word. But the one who can remain calm, who can remain silent, instead of adding fuel to the fire, often has the most influence. That silence de-escalates the situation. That silence creates space for understanding. That silence shows control when everything else is out of control. That's discipline at work, not weakness. The truth is, silence requires a higher level of self-control than words ever will. Words can be spoken without thought, but silence is chosen with intention. Words can be thrown around carelessly, but silence is carried with purpose. Silence is heavy, it carries weight, and people notice it even more than noise. When you master silence, people realize they can't pull you into chaos. They realize their insults bounce off you. They realize their attempts to disturb your peace fail. And that realization makes them respect you because your silence shows strength they can't understand. Discipline is doing what's difficult, not what's easy. And silence in the face of provocation, silence in the face of misunderstanding, silence in the face of pressure, that is one of the most difficult things you can do. But it is also one of the most powerful. Choosing silence is choosing strength. Choosing silence is choosing discipline. And choosing silence is choosing control over yourself, which is the foundation of true power. Silence gives you the power to listen, observe, and understand. Too often, people think power is in the one who speaks first, the one who dominates the conversation, the one who fills every space with their voice. But real strength comes from the ability to step back and let the noise pass. When you stay silent, you start to notice things others don't. You catch the details in tone, in body language, in the pauses between words. You hear what people really mean, not just what they say. Silence sharpens your senses, and that awareness becomes an advantage in every part of life. When you are silent, you're not just avoiding words. You're training yourself to pay attention. Most people are too busy preparing their next response to truly hear what's being said. They argue without listening, they defend without understanding, and they react without thinking. But the one who is silent takes it all in. You begin to notice the intentions behind the words. You start to recognize patterns in behavior. You understand what motivates people, what triggers them, what they fear, and what they want. That kind of insight can only come from discipline, and it only comes when you learn to be silent long enough to observe. Silence allows you to step outside of yourself and see the bigger picture. When emotions are high, people get tunnel vision. They react to the surface, to the insult, to the challenge right in front of them. But silence pulls you above the noise. It gives you perspective. It reminds you that not every situation deserves a response, and not every voice deserves your attention. With silence, you give yourself the chance to evaluate, is this worth my time? Is this worth my energy? Is this even about me? That kind of clarity is power, because while others are trapped in the moment, you are thinking beyond it. Listening itself is a form of strength. People underestimate how much you can gain just by hearing others out. When you listen deeply, you gain knowledge that talking could never give you. You understand not only the words, but the emotions behind them. You pick up on the unspoken truths, the contradictions, the things people try to hide. Silence creates space for those truths to reveal themselves, and the patient listener always ends up with the advantage. Knowledge is power, and silence is what opens the door to that knowledge. Observation, too, is power. Think about a room full of people. Most are talking, trying to impress, trying to be heard. But the one sitting quietly, watching, listening, that person is learning everything. They see who's insecure, who's confident, who's pretending, who's genuine. They notice the dynamics others miss. And because they are silent, they never reveal their own hand. That is why silence is powerful. It keeps your cards close while letting you see everyone else's. Understanding is the natural result of listening and observing. When you practice silence, you start to understand people, situations, and even yourself more clearly. You understand that not every insult requires a defense. Not every provocation deserves a reaction, and not every conflict is worth the fight. You begin to understand timing, to know when it's wise to speak, and when it's wise to hold your tongue. And in that understanding, you gain control. Control over your actions, control over your emotions, control over the outcome. Silence also reveals what others are blind to. In silence, you start to hear your own thoughts. You gain clarity about what you believe, what you value, and what direction you want to go. Noise drowns out that inner voice, but silence allows it to speak. That understanding of yourself is one of the greatest powers you can have, because the more you know yourself, the harder it becomes for others to manipulate you. Silence gives you the time and space to know who you are. And when you know who you are, you move with confidence. In silence, you also learn patience. Patience is not about waiting idly. It's about observing while you wait, learning while you wait, preparing while you wait. Silence teaches you that every moment doesn't require your immediate involvement. Sometimes the wisest move is to watch, to let others reveal themselves, to let situations unfold. Patience born from silence allows you to act with precision instead of impulse. It allows you to choose your battles wisely and to step forward only when the timing is right. That kind of patience is rare, and it is powerful. The loudest voice in the room often seeks attention. The silent one seeks understanding. And in life, understanding always outweighs attention. Attention fades as quickly as it comes, but understanding gives you lasting power. It allows you to make decisions from a place of wisdom, not reaction. It allows you to see through deception, to recognize opportunity, and to avoid traps. Silence puts you in a position where you are never blind, because you've trained yourself to look deeper and listen harder. People may mistake your silence for weakness, but in reality, it's one of the strongest choices you can make. It's the discipline to resist the urge to be heard in every moment. It's the strength to remain still when others are restless. It's the wisdom to listen and learn before acting. And through that silence, you build a foundation of knowledge, awareness, and control that makes you powerful beyond what words could ever achieve. Silence takes away control from those who try to provoke you. The truth is, most people who try to get a reaction out of you aren't looking for conversation. They're looking for control. They want to know they can push your buttons. They want to see if they can break your calm, if they can drag you into their chaos. They measure their own power by how much of your peace they can steal. Every time you react, you hand them control over your emotions. Every time you let their words dictate your response, You give them influence over your state of mind. But when you remain silent, you break that cycle. You show them that your emotions are yours to govern, not theirs to manipulate. People who thrive on provocation are fueled by reaction. It's like oxygen to their fire. If you give them what they want, they burn brighter, they feel validated, they feel powerful. But when you choose silence, you cut off their supply. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't react. They can't figure out how to pull you in. That lack of reaction frustrates them, confuses them, and in the end weakens them. Your silence is not passive, it's active resistance. It's you saying, you don't have the power to move me. When someone insults you, they expect anger. When someone mocks you, they expect defense. When someone lies about you, they expect you to fight back. But silence denies them that satisfaction. Silence forces them to wrestle with their own words, their own actions, their own energy. And the longer you remain silent, the more their attempts to provoke you look small, petty, and desperate. What they meant to use against you ends up exposing them. Silence turns the spotlight away from your reaction and shines it on their behavior. Silence is also a form of psychological strength. It tells people you are not easy to read. You are not easy to manipulate. You are not someone they can control with a few words. The moment people realize you cannot be baited, you gain leverage. They have to rethink how they approach you, because the usual tactics won't work. That kind of presence earns respect, even from those who may not like you, because deep down, people respect what they cannot shake. They respect stability, even when they can't understand it. Every time you stay silent, you are building a shield around yourself. That shield is discipline. It protects your energy from being wasted on arguments that don't matter. It protects your mind from being consumed by negativity. It protects your progress from being slowed down by distractions. Silence is not just about ignoring someone. It's about protecting yourself from giving away pieces of yourself to people who don't deserve them. And the more you practice it, the stronger that shield becomes. Think about how much control you lose when you let others provoke you. One insult can ruin your whole day. One argument can take your focus away from your goals. One reaction can damage relationships or opportunities that took years to build, all because you allowed someone else to dictate your state of mind. That's the danger of reaction. It hands over control to someone else. Silence keeps that control in your hands. Silence says, I choose my peace over your chaos. I choose my discipline over your distraction. I choose myself over this moment. It's not easy to stay silent when you're provoked. It goes against ego, because ego wants to respond. Ego wants to prove itself. Ego wants to show strength through words. But true strength doesn't need to prove itself. True strength is calm. True strength doesn't rise to every challenge, because it knows not every challenge is worthy. By mastering silence, you master your ego. And by mastering your ego, you master yourself. That mastery makes you unshakable. Over time, silence creates a reputation. People begin to notice that you don't react like everyone else. They realize that you can't be pulled into arguments. You can't be triggered into rash decisions. You can't be used as a tool in their games. That reputation becomes power, because people know they cannot control you. And the less control others have over you, the more freedom you have to move with purpose, focus, and strength. The world is full of people trying to provoke a reaction. On social media, in workplaces, in families, everywhere you look, there are voices designed to distract, to test, to stir emotions. But the one who learns the discipline of silence becomes untouchable. They stand firm while others are shaken. They hold control while others give it away. They conserve their energy while others waste it. Silence is not weakness in the face of provocation. It is the greatest proof of strength. It shows you belong to yourself, not to the noise around you. Silence protects your vision and energy. The more you talk, the more you give away. And the more you react, the more of your strength is drained. Not everyone deserves access to what you're building. Not everyone deserves to know your plans. Not everyone is worthy of your time, your attention, or your focus. Silence becomes your guardrail, keeping you from scattering your energy in places where it brings no return. When you choose silence, you're not just withholding words. You're preserving your power for what truly matters. Your vision is fragile in its early stages. Dreams are like seeds, and seeds need protection before they can grow strong. If you talk too soon, if you share too much, you expose your vision to negativity, doubt, and criticism from people who cannot see what you see. Their words may not kill your dream, but they can poison it, make you question yourself, make you waste time defending something that doesn't need defending. Silence shields your vision from those voices. It keeps your dream safe until it has the strength to stand on its own. Energy is the currency of progress. Every reaction costs you something. Every argument, every explanation, every defense you give takes energy away from your purpose. Too many people spend themselves proving points while their goals sit untouched. They get caught up in battles of pride while their real mission starves for attention. Silence allows you to conserve that energy. It tells you, not everything deserves my response. Not everything requires my involvement. By staying silent, you keep your energy aligned with your purpose instead of scattering it in 100 directions that don't matter. Protecting your vision also means protecting it from noise. The world is loud with opinions, distractions, and unnecessary comparisons. If you don't discipline yourself with silence, you get pulled into it all. You start chasing approval instead of progress. You start explaining yourself instead of working on yourself. You start defending your vision instead of building it. Silence becomes a filter that blocks out the noise so you can hear your own thoughts, your own voice, your own direction. In that quiet, you find clarity. And clarity is what strengthens vision. When you practice silence, you start to realize how much of your energy you were wasting. You notice how often people bait you into conversations that lead nowhere. You notice how much time is lost arguing with those who never intended to understand you. You notice how drained you feel after explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. Silence saves you from all of that. It allows you to walk away with your energy intact, your peace untouched, and your focus unbroken. There is also wisdom in moving in silence. The less people know about your vision, the less they can interfere with it. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you to succeed. Not everyone who asks about your goals has your best interest at heart. Some people only want information to use it against you. Some only want access to your vision so they can discourage you or copy you. By remaining silent, you protect your vision from unnecessary exposure. You allow your actions and results to reveal themselves when the time is right, instead of feeding your dream to voices that don't deserve it. Energy is too valuable to be wasted. Think about how much you could accomplish if you redirected the energy you spend on arguments into your purpose. Think about the progress you could make if you stopped trying to prove yourself to doubters and started proving yourself through results. Every ounce of energy you give to negativity is energy stolen from your vision. Silence is how you take that energy back. It is how you say, I choose to build rather than battle. I choose to progress rather than prove. I choose to protect my purpose rather than waste myself on distractions. Silence also allows you to recharge. When you're constantly reacting, constantly defending, constantly explaining, you drain yourself mentally, emotionally, and even physically. But when you embrace silence, you give yourself space to rest and recover. That rest becomes fuel for your vision. That quiet becomes the ground where creativity grows. That pause becomes the moment where direction becomes clear again. Silence doesn't just protect your energy, it restores it. In the end, silence is not about ignoring people. It's about prioritizing yourself. It's about recognizing that your vision is too valuable to be thrown to the crowd. It's about understanding that your energy is the force that will carry you to your goals, and you cannot afford to waste it on things that don't matter. Silence is the discipline that keeps you focused, the shield that guards your purpose, and the choice that allows your energy to remain aligned with your mission. When you choose silence, you are choosing to protect your future. Silence creates mystery, and mystery creates power. People are naturally curious, and when they can't read you, they begin to wonder about you. When you don't reveal every thought, every feeling, every plan, you become unpredictable. Unpredictability is intimidating because others don't know how to approach you, don't know what to expect, don't know what you're holding back. That uncertainty shifts the balance of power in your favor. The less they know about you, the more they have to guess. And every time they guess wrong, you gain an advantage. Mystery makes people pay attention. When you talk less, your words carry more weight. If you're always speaking, always reacting, always revealing, people get used to your voice. They stop listening closely because they already know what to expect. But when you choose silence, when you hold back, when you speak only when it matters, every word becomes amplified. People lean in, they pay attention. They respect the discipline it takes to remain quiet until the right moment. That is power. Mystery also protects your weaknesses. If people know everything about you, they can predict your moves. They can use your patterns against you. They can exploit what they know. But silence keeps you hidden. Silence covers your vulnerabilities. It allows you to work on yourself in private, to grow without outside interference, to build without unnecessary exposure. The more silent you remain, the harder it is for anyone to pin you down, to manipulate you, or to use your own emotions against you. Silence gives you control over what others see, and that control itself is power. The person who is mysterious doesn't have to announce what they're doing, because the results eventually speak for themselves. Silence allows your actions to reveal your strength rather than your words. When people can't figure you out, when they can't predict your next move, when they can't decide whether you're hurt or unaffected, they start to respect you differently. They recognize that you are not someone they can easily measure, and what cannot be measured often feels more powerful than what can be explained. Mystery also commands respect because it creates space between you and the world. When you don't give everyone access to your thoughts, you set boundaries. Boundaries make people realize that not everyone is entitled to your energy, not everyone is deserving of your attention, and not everyone should know your plans. That kind of restraint makes you appear elevated above the noise, above the crowd, above the desperation to always be seen and heard. The less accessible you are, the more valuable you become. Think about the people you admire most. Often, it's not just what they say, but what they choose not to say that makes them powerful. Their silence leaves room for imagination. People start to fill in the gaps, and in those gaps, the image of strength grows. By not revealing everything, they create an aura of authority. Silence forces others to interpret, to speculate, to wonder. And in that wondering, they place more importance on you than they would if you simply gave them everything outright. Mystery also disarms those who try to provoke you. If they can't figure out what you're thinking, they can't control you. If they don't know how you feel, they can't manipulate you. If they can't predict your reaction, they lose the power to dictate the situation. Silence keeps them guessing, and guessing is uncomfortable. That discomfort makes people cautious around you. Caution gives you the upper hand, because the less predictable you are, the more control you hold. Even in leadership, silence and mystery are powerful tools. A leader who speaks too much, reacts too quickly, or reveals too openly loses authority. But a leader who listens more than they speak, who observes more than they reveal, builds an aura of wisdom. People start to trust that when you do speak, it's because it matters. They respect your restraint. They respect your timing. And because you don't give away everything, they follow more closely because they don't want to miss the moment you finally reveal your thoughts. Mystery also strengthens your inner peace. When you choose silence, you're not only keeping others from knowing too much, you're keeping yourself from being consumed by noise. You're not obligated to explain yourself. You're not pressured to prove yourself. You're not drained by the need to constantly defend your choices. Instead, you move quietly, work quietly, and progress quietly. That quiet creates a sense of control over your own life. You are no longer running after validation. You are moving with purpose. Silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. It makes people wonder, and in their wondering, they give you more power than words ever could. When you embrace silence, you understand that less is more. Less reaction gives you more control. Less explanation gives you more focus. Less exposure gives you more strength. And the mystery created by silence keeps others on edge, while you move with confidence and purpose behind the scenes.